Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Move some things around so y'all won't be all up in my business, okay? Good morning, everyone. How are you guys? Hello, hello, hello. How's everyone? Good. Let me do my due diligence here. How is everyone doing this morning? Is everyone staying safe? You're staying safe. You're protecting yourself against COVID. That's what we're doing. We staying safe, protecting ourselves against COVID, wearing our masks, washing our hands, and protecting our family as well. I hope so. Thanks for joining me this morning, guys. Um, I am Kathleen Harris, your conscious coach. And just a second here. This morning, we're going to be talking about my main focus, which is the restoration of family. And we can't do that if we don't have a conscious mind, right? It makes sense, right? Let me get out of here. I guess I have to go all the way back. Okay. Well, that's weird. Hmm. Okay. Got it. Okay, well, good morning, guys. So, how's everyone? I am Kathleen Harriet, your conscious coach, and I do want to speak to you guys this morning about. Look, my fingers swelled up. I couldn't even put my ring back on this morning. We're gonna have to go do something different there. Um. So anyway, look at that. Couldn't even. It won't fit. I can't get it back on, but I'm gonna leave it right there. Um. So anyway, let's get busy. Let's get busy. Let's get busy. So I am a conscious coach, and all of my literature, all of my books are about developing your conscious mind. And so we want to talk. I want to talk to you this morning about. I really want to talk to you this morning about restoration and why we need restoration in the Black community and what that looks like. I'm all about simplicity and keeping it basic, um, so that we can quickly understand the message and quickly adapt to understanding what we need to do to be successful, right? So we've gone now at this point about 40 years with the breakdown of the Black family. Since the 1960s, the Black family has been deteriorating. We went from being two-parent homes to basically single-parent families, and it's been that way for about 40 years, where over 70% of Black homes were single-parent homes. So, that is what I want to talk about. Now, I know we live in a society that has adopted and adapted to many different families. They have many different ways to define family. Um, I don't have anything to do with that. I'm just saying. I'm going to be teaching from the standpoint of health and whole families. And that includes a mom, a dad, and then the birth of children. So if this is not a platform for you, please invite other people and let them know the conversations that I am having here as a conscious coach. I am also a minister, an evangelist. Um, I do operate in the gift of prophecy at times and different things, knowledge, wisdom, all those good gifts that God has given me. And I take those things very, very seriously. I also have a strong love for people, just in general. I really, really do. I know sometimes people perceive me as being maybe a little antiquated, or that's not really the word I want to use, like a little hard to, you know, talk to, or they perceive me as a little straight edge. But it's just that I'm very passionate, and I really do believe in what I do and the difference that needs to be made in our community. It's morning, you guys, so forgive me. So let's get into what restoration is and why we even need restoration. If we could kind of go there this morning. And I hope everybody's having a good morning. It's kind of cool here where I am. So I went outside and I'm like, well, it's gonna be nice weather today. We might go out to the lake. So anyway, what is restoration now, or why do we need restoration? So restoration to me, like I said, we have the breakdown of the African American or black family or brown people, however you want to term it, where we basically got into this mode of us reproducing without having any structure, right? So a mom and dad in a home should present structure. So what should that? So what should that even look like, right? Give me just a second. Give us a good start right here. I got my questions, but I don't have what I'm going to be talking about. So give me a second here. All right. So this is all about restoration and particularly restoration of the black family. Now, if you're looking for someone that's going to give you this big, huge, long definition and give you a lot of history about the black family and all that we went through. We went through the slavery era. Now we're still going through the discrimination area where we had, if you go back, we had to get, we had our land stolen from us. We were looking for jobs. We had to migrate. This is all the information that I know, but I'm not going to be rehearsing that information. I'm not. I want us to. I want you to catch a hold to what I'm trying to do now, and I'll feed you this information. So we came here as slaves. We all know that. We lived here as slaves, right? Not through any will of ourselves, of course. The colonizers did what they did. And then after we got out of slavery, not all of us were slaves that were here in the United States. Some say we were here before that even happened and all of that good stuff. So sorry guys, I got to get my coffee. hold on. Let me get the handle. Okay. I gotta get my coffee. Hello. Look at my little girl. Look at my lady. So I'm not gonna get all into babe, can you bring me some milk? Because honey, this got to be cream. I don't do black coffee. Okay, so if you go back to our history when we were slaves, everything that happened with slavery. We were raped, we were tortured. After that, they stole our land. They wouldn't allow us to purchase land. They were putting us in jail. They built a whole new system. I'm not gonna get into all of that. And so what ended up happening was a lot of people who were down south and other places decided to migrate to areas where they thought that they could find jobs. And a lot of times they went and they did find jobs, but other times it was very, very difficult. So that had to do a lot um, with the black family being destroyed. Because a lot of them would leave out of town and they would leave their families behind, and sometimes they were blessed to come back and get them, and sometimes not so much. So that had to do with the breakdown of the family. But then you had all these other factors that I'm not going to load all of that onto you this morning. But loss of job, being separated, slavery in itself, teaching us all kinds of ungodly behaviors where we were raped, we were hung, even the men were raped, the children were raped, women used as bed wenches. You got all types of crazy going on, right? And so after slavery, not being able to find jobs, having to move around and do all of that, um, we got into this situation where basically we experienced loss. Ooh, I don't like having food in my office. I don't want any ants in here. Where we began to see that we began to lose. If you go back and look at history, and guys, you have Google. There are so many people with so many platforms that can teach you all this history that you need to know in detail. So much you can learn, but at the end of all I'm saying is we begin to lose the structure of the black family, right? And then we moved into this single parent homes and this baby daddy, baby mama, all of this stuff. And then now we have the continued breakdown of the black family because nobody wants to get married now. We have now what I call gray weddings, where people are literally waiting until they have gray hair. They're in their 40s, they're in their 50s, and all of that before they decide that marriage is important. And guys, let me just say this: you cannot birth children. I know people having children all old and stuff now, and that this is not what this is about. But you cannot birth children and build when you're in your 40s and 50s and 60s. That's how it works. And so we suffered a lot of loss, right? Suffered a lot of loss. And so we suffered a lot of loss because we started missing the men in our home. And that's the bottom line. And when the structure was gone, the even the Bible says that without the strong man, without the protection in the home, then other things, other people, distractions, all kinds of things are able to get into the house and to destroy. So we do need the presence of black men in our home. Black women do need to be married before they have children. Black fathers, if you are a black father and you're not married to the mother, you do need to be present in that child's life. And those are the things we have lost. And when the things that we lose with that structure is protection. So more black women are subject to sexual abuse. 60% of black women will suffer sexual abuse before the age of 18. That's a lot. But when you don't have black men in the home, all the numbers go up. When you don't have a family, when you don't have the structure of family in the home, all of the numbers go up. More likely to go to jail, more likely to serve long-term prison sentences, more likely to be killed in the streets, more likely to join a gang, more likely to become pregnant, more likely to end up with a dead end job, more likely to why? Because you're more likely to drop out of high school. You're less likely to go to college. You're less likely to earn at least a $40,000, $50,000 salary or a salary at all. You're probably going to be in the bottom where you're making about $21,000, $18,000 a year. And so what do we lose when the family is not in existence? Because the family means a lot. The family means you have someone to go to. You have someone to go to when you have an issue, when you have a problem. But if all you have to go to is your single parent mom, who is already struggling, who, because she wasn't raised by two parents, she doesn't really have answers, who is probably frustrated and mad, who's probably not even available because she's working two jobs, or she likes to party, or she likes to smoke weed. You got all of these different scenarios that are playing out in Black life, except for strong Black families. And so we've lost a lot because we lack the structure of a strong Black family. So just follow me. Okay. So, what does restoration look like? Restoration looks like you say, well, Kathy or Kathleen, the country's coach, I'm a single parent already. I don't have a man in my life that could bring that structure that you're talking about back. So what do I do for my children? Or you may say, well, I'm a young man and I don't have a wife, and I already got a couple of two or three kids running around, or a child here, and we're not married. There are going to be all types of situations out here. You may say, well, hey, I do have a structured family. I'm married. My husband and I are together. We have children. Everything seems to be great for our family. Well, there's still some tools that even you could use. And so I want to talk to you about all of that. So let's get into it. Say that you're a single parent. Well, your job is to help break the struggle stories. And that's what I identify in my books. Most all my books, you're going to hear about the struggle story because that's the thing that we're passing down from generation to generation if we don't go back and restore the Black family. So, what would that look like for a single parent? When I was a single parent and I was raising my three children before I got married, they had already turned my daughters were already teenagers, turned to teenagers before I got married and all that good stuff. And so, what I began to teach them was the importance of family. And I also wanted them to be aware of how they were feeling in that moment. And so, they were teens at the moment, no father around. And I really wanted them to identify their struggles at the moment and to really come into full conscious mind thinking. I'm sorry, I'm looking at three different things. Forgive my eyes. And so I really wanted them to come into full knowledge of what they were experiencing as a child. And then I wanted them to understand that that's not something you want to pass on to your seed, which is why you don't want to be engaging in sexual activity, having a baby without the construct of marriage, or having the principles of marriage and life in place. Because then you're just going to be introducing a new seed to a horrible environment. And a lot of us have done that. And so I always, it's probably in here somewhere because I often use this little picture I have that for some reason I have it. I'm about 16 years old in this picture, maybe 17. This is my second child, my middle daughter here, and I already had babies. And so, but what I didn't have was a father in the home. What I didn't have was structure. What I didn't have in the home was leadership. And those are the things that we want to restore. So if you're a single parent, like I was a single parent, we have to start teaching these lessons about how to break the pattern and not repeat the pattern. So, like I said, I was teaching my children to be consciously aware of where you are right now and how you feel and what you're experiencing, and think about that before you have sex with someone and produce a child, because this is what your child is going to go through. Now, I ain't trying to tell nobody else's business, but this is just a fact that's known. My daughter did have a baby when she was, I think, 16 years old, or I think she was 16 when she got pregnant, 17 by the time she had her first child. Her and that dude ended up getting married, and they had another child. They went to college. She's a nurse. He went to school. I think he was going to school to be an engineer, whatever he was going to school for. And so, to me, the cycle was broken in terms of my kids didn't do what I did. They certainly didn't just have a bunch of random babies by random people and all of that. To me, that's better, right? That's a breaking the cycle. And it wasn't perfect, but I want us to start somewhere. We have to start somewhere. We have to start making some advances, and we have to stop just saying, oh, celebrating people having babies when when they're refusing to make a commitment, right? Prove the Black family status. Now, know, all types of things are going on. People go to jail, people are arrested, and like I said, a lot of people just aren't even married to start off. So we want to restore the Black family in terms of let us get married. Okay. Not just in relationships. Let's get married before we have children. Because and be in a healthy marriage, not just let's just get married. What's wrong with us thinking about our health, our mental health, our financial health, our family health. What's wrong with Black people having healthy families? We deserve healthy families just like everybody else. But we first have to see what we've lost. We have to accept that. And then we have to start building upon what we truly desire to see. And we do that by utilizing the tools that we have and the knowledge that we have. After years and years and years of seeing single parents, by now we know that's not working. Okay. People can say, well, it's your business. You know, you do what you want to do. No one can tell you what to do. But that's not really how it works, is it? It's not. It doesn't work for the children because of all those things I mentioned before. Less likely, less likely, less likely, and the more likely, more likely, more likely, and the percentages, right? All the percentages go up. Most likely, to fail, to be in a toxic relationship, to experience domestic violence, to be depressed. You have all of these factors when we don't have a strong Black family. And so that's why we need restoration. What does restoration look like? So, restoration is basically restoring the things that we lost. That's all restoration is. And I just told you what has been lost, just went through that. So, where does restoration begin? Restoration begins with an acknowledgement first. Have you ever thought about when you look at things like, well, I'll use some simple things like alcoholism. When you're a drug addict or alcoholic, or maybe you're addicted to sex, whatever it is, the first thing they ask you to do is to acknowledge where you are. It's really you just acknowledging where you are. Right now, I'm an alcoholic, so I'm gonna say I'm an alcoholic. Right now, I'm addicted to sex or drugs or whatever, and so I'm going to acknowledge where I am now. And I love that because when you acknowledge where you are, has nothing to do with where you are going. And that's the part we need to understand. We can say where we are now. We can say that our communities are not the best environment. We can say my marriage is not the best marriage. We can say I'm a single parent right now. I can acknowledge that because that has nothing to do with where I am going. I'm going somewhere. I have a goal in mind. I can see things differently now. So where I am right now has nothing to do with where I'm going, and no one can stop me. When I was a single parent and I got it in my mind that I wanted my children to have a different life experience, nothing could stop me because nothing can stop you from teaching the lessons to yourself first and then applying them in your home. Nothing can stop you. Nothing can. If you will it, if you want it, if you desire it, this is the time that we can start to begin to restore our Black families, and nothing can stop us. So people can throw it in our face. For 40 years, y'all been having kids without the benefit of a family. For 40 years, you guys have been having kids out of wedlock. For 40 years, you got baby daddies, one baby daddy, two baby daddy, three baby daddy. For 40 years, Black men have been on child support. They can throw that in our face because that's where we are right now. But nothing can stop us from going to the next level. And that's what I want us to focus on. So, where does restoration begin? It begins with me because I'm not afraid to identify where I am because I know I can move from this place. And if nobody else is with me, God is with me. But I don't want you to just, because we're good on religion, but we're not very good at practicing. And I want us to practice. And that's the place God has called me to as a conscious coach to help you develop your conscious mind. That's the gift that he gave to me to share with you. And so where does restoration begin? I just answered that, so you tell me. Where does restoration begin? Restoration begins with you. Let me tell you something. When you're looking for answers, you will find them. It's just like looking in your man phone to see if he's texting or messaging somebody else. You might find out that he is, and you may find out that he's not. But if you're looking for answers, you're going to find them. If you're looking to restore your family, if you're trying to see where your family got off, if you're trying to see why you live more in curses than you do in choices that benefit you, then all you have to do is start looking for answers and you will find them. In fact, I challenge you to get a piece of paper and a pen and write down all of your family curses. Do you have children without the benefit of a spouse? That's male or female. Because if you're a man and you brought children into this world without the benefit of a wife, then you need to look at why your family is cursed and making those choices. And if you're a female and you've given birth to a child without the benefit of a husband, is that a pattern in your family? I'm not talking about your family. I'm talking about where you are. And that you have all rights and privileges to change, to elevate, to grow, to evolve. So, where does restoration begin? It begins with you. That's where it begins. So, how do we restore the Black families? I'm glad you asked. The simple the simple answer is to say, we lead or we become leaders. Now, let me see if my coffee is warm enough for me to sip. Mm, it is. Y'all want to see my coffee? Okay. So, where do we begin? How do we restore Black families? We lead and we become leaders. Listen, guys, you say, well, how do I become a leader? Yelling is not leading. Okay? Beating your kids is not leading. I don't even believe in beating your kids. And I'll probably share some of that with you. Um, what else is not leading? Just telling your kids what to do, that is not leading. Okay? Leadership first comes from being the example. That's number one. Is being the example of leadership. Leadership, the next part to leadership is to teach or to help someone navigate to a certain goal. Remember, just a minute ago, I was just telling you that if you have a goal in mind, and you're looking for answers, you will find those answers. So, how do we restore the Black family? We lead, we become leaders. What's a leader? It's someone who can teach someone to and show them how to navigate in order to reach a certain goal. You can clearly paint a picture of what you want out of life, what you expect in life, and what you expect to achieve in life. And when you can clearly paint those pictures, give them a visual, show them a plan, and effectively communicate how you want them to reach that goal. You say, "Wow, conscious coach Kathy, that's a lot you just said." This is why we need families, because no one can do this by themselves. We need the structure of family, and that's why I wrote the book, The Legacy Workbook. All the things I just mentioned to you, how to build up to become the leader in your family, that's all the book is about, becoming the leader in your family, restoring the Black family. It's going to teach you leadership skills. Now, this is not some leadership skills. Look, this is not complicated. I give you the voice from which you should speak from in every chapter. How to build trust, how to build consistency in your family, how to be loyal, what loyalty looks like. All of that is in that workbook. Those are the pieces that we are missing. We have zero loyalty. Zero. Absolutely zero. So we need to learn just some basic things: how to love one another, what love actually looks like, how to speak to one another, how to embrace one another. And it starts with you. Don't you know the difference between harsh words and kind words? And those are some of the things that I talk about in the book. How do we just presenting yourself in a nice way every day, being kind, being gentle. Those are things we have to implement in our homes. Having discussions at the table, really being a guide. You can't just you can't just throw things at your kids. You have to have time to sit down and to have quiet conversations and to really begin to develop their conscious mind. So how do we restore the black families? We lead. We be the examples. If you don't know what that looks like, find a family, find a friend, find a coworker, find a book. Well, you just found me. I think that's I think that's a good start. You have to become a leader. And leader requires you to be humble, right? You have to walk in humility and not so much this black authority that we want to have, where we talking to our kids like this. Look at my forehead. I got wrinkles up there already. We think authority is leadership. Well, the police have authority, and I that makes me want to even vomit when I say it. People can take authority the wrong way when police should actually operate in a spirit of leadership. Leadership is caring for your community. Leadership is wanting to see everyone have justice. So all I want to do is apprehend the suspect, take the suspect in for questioning, and if the suspect is found guilty, then I want them to go before a judge and do all the necessary steps. Unruled authority just means I'm the boss. You do what I say when I say it. Don't ask me no questions. I ain't got time for that. When I step in this room, I mean business. Well, you've taken authority, but where's the leadership? Because leadership means you understand what I expect from you, and I've given you the tools in order for you to reach that goal. You see the difference? It's about managing. And that's what our families don't have. First, we don't have the structure, and then we don't have the management. If you don't have the structure right now, that's where you are. There's nothing you can do about that. But how about we get some management skills so we can lead? So, again, you may think it's nothing, but we have to understand. Turn a light on for you right here. A lot of us are living in survival mode, not success. And a lot of us as Black people have survival mixed up with success. We think if I'm making it, if I'm paying my rent, whether that's because you have Section 8 or you're actually paying your rent, a lot of us think because we have food on the table, we're successful. Whether that's through food stamps or you bust your butt and you got $80 or $100 to spend on groceries every week. We're for a lot of us, we're stuck, in survival mode. And we think as long as I'm making it, my family is okay. Yes, you're okay in terms of you're not out on the street or homeless. Yes, you're okay in terms of you do have a place to stay, a roof over your head, lights, and your basic needs are met. That's a lot different from successful. Successful means you are able to leave an inheritance to your children. It means you own a home, you own land, your business is doing well, and you have all of these great principles, qualities, morals, financial literacy, and all of that to pass on to your seed. Yeah, I just said a lot. But that is true success. Now, in order for you to have a successful family, do you have to own a home and buy land and do all of that? No. If you don't have the financials in the first generation of restoring your family, that's okay because you will build up to that. You really will. Your mind will shift. Your priorities will shift. You will find yourself. Uh, you know, if you're the curse breaker in your family and you're not able to acquire a piece of property for whatever reason, or to have the first business for whatever reason, at least you should be the springboard for your children. I was a springboard. Okay. I was a springboard for my children. My children now have all had some level of secondary education. One daughter's a nurse. One daughter has her own business. My son, he's working full time. Doesn't have a whole bunch of children running around. And in fact, his first child was, when he got married and all of that. So if you're the first person, the first generation in your family to be the curse breaker, that's okay. I still intend on purchasing my first home. I've had a chance to do that, all types of whatever going on, but I'm going to do it. So if you're the curse breaker and you're the one that's bringing things into alignment and you're a first generational curse breaker, that's okay. But these are the things we have to do to restore the family. And these are some of the things that are in the book, in the legacy workbook as well. So how do we begin to restore black families? We realize what we lost. We realize it's okay to start where we are. We turn into these curse breakers, which means we become the leaders. Okay? So, how can I demonstrate leadership in my home? Like I said, become the example. Take the time to sit down and actually plan for your family. How do you want to um it's kind of like saying, as a family, how do we want to be represented as a family? Now a lot of us have these false representations. I need some more coffee. In fact, before we get into that, I'm gonna give us a couple of minutes, okay? Give you a couple of minutes to take a breath, and we're gonna come back with how to demonstrate leadership in my family. So welcome back. Thank you for that. I said one thing that we were going to get into after that was to get into how we can how I can demonstrate knowledge in my home. So the way you demonstrate leadership in your home, excuse me, how can I demonstrate leadership in my home? So how can I demonstrate leadership in my home? The way you demonstrate leadership in your home is by being the example and by gaining the knowledge you need to guide. Look, if you've been doing something for 40 years and it hasn't worked, how do I identify if it has worked or not? Look at your family, do an evaluation, do an assessment. If your family is still having children without the benefit of marriage, if you are still financially struggling, if you are still mentally imbalanced, meaning there's more depression, and you may be covering it up with good times or shopping or whatever you're doing. If you are not a person who is concerned about what happens in your community, if you don't have enough knowledge to pass on to others, then you still need to be a person that gains more knowledge so you can step into the role of leadership, right? So I'm a leader. That's just who I am, what I was made to do. That's how I'm built. And so, me being a leader, the knowledge that I'm sharing with you right now is a part of leadership. You have to gain knowledge in order for you to be able to lead others. And so, that's what we need to do. We need to gain knowledge. Every area that we see we are weak in, when it comes to single parent status, how do we stop that? How do we build that part of our community up to where it's non-existence? Over 70% is a huge, huge number. Quite frankly, it means that over 70% of Black people can't make good decisions when it comes to family, to building a strong, structured family. That's exactly what it means. It means that over 70% of Black people do not have the proper mentality to focus on and to establish and retain strong Black families. And that is a big problem. That is a great concern. That is something that we need to fix. And so, how do we demonstrate this restoration? This we gain knowledge. That's how we do it. How do we demonstrate leadership? Is what I meant. We have to gain knowledge. We have to do an assessment. We have to see what is not working in our families, and we have to commit to doing things differently. And guess what? That's not an easy commitment. Do you know how many times when I share with people, excuse me, this coffee is good to my soul. When I share with people, like my book, so you think you want to have sex, and I say to people that African American high school students are the highest ranking when it comes to being sexually active, and we need to do something about that. Guess what the first thing I hear is? Oh, we've been doing that. You can't stop these kids. Those kids are going to have sex regardless. Guess what? I heard it and I see it. It's like we're afraid to break the curse. It's like we're afraid to correct what's wrong with us. It's like we're afraid to fix us as if we can't be fixed, as if where we are is where we have to stay. And so, even though we gather up in church and according to statistics, Black Americans are more religious than any other race on the planet, we are still the poorest race on the planet. We still have more single parent homes than any other race on the planet. So we got Jesus, we got God, or however you believe in God, whether you're Pentecostal, Baptist, Catholic, whatever you believe, we still lack the basic principles and foundations of a strong Black family. We're still 70% single parent homes. So we have to do an assessment. We have to do an evaluation, and we have to figure out what's missing so we can fix it. because we don't have to keep going to God asking him for stuff that we could do by ourselves if we made better choices. I don't have to ask God for a house if I have good credit. I have a college degree. I'm making 50, 60, 70, 80,000, 100,000, $200,000 a year. I got married and they're matching my grind. They're matching my mentality. They're matching my goals. We got married. How are we going to have a problem buying a house? And then worse than that, some of you guys, well, not worse, but equal to, some of you guys did go to college. Some of you do make 50, 60, 70, 30, 100,000, 200,000 a year, but you're still having babies by random people, or you're still giving birth to people you're not married to. And you might say, well, Kathleen, that's my business. Well, of course it's your business. I'm not paying child support, but you're still lending to the breakdown of the structure of the Black family, which breaks down what we're able to contribute to our community, which breaks down the race. And we have to see all of these moving parts, and then we have to make those moving parts start to work for us to benefit us as a race. So that's what I had to share about restoration this morning and how important it is for us to restore the Black family. This is necessary. It is absolutely necessary. At one point, we were having so many baby showers and so many reveal parties, but no weddings. Nobody's willing to say, I do forever. Nobody's willing to be the child's mom and dad. Nobody wants to be a mom and dad, a husband and a wife. And we don't have a problem with that. We don't have a problem with our children not being loved properly. Something is wrong when you don't have a problem with your own children being loved properly in a healthy environment. Out of all we've experienced, out of all that you've gone through, all that you've seen, you still are okay with the next generation birthing children, being baby mamas, baby daddies, having less wealth than the generations before them. You know, one thing I wanted to do for my children, I wanted them to have a better life than I had experienced. Because I wanted their children to have a better life than they experienced. And I don't stop. I may be annoying to you. I may be what you've never heard before because we're not used to loving and caring for each other. We're used to, some of us, because of racism and in the past and all we've been through, we're used to violence, screaming, yelling, lack of accountability. We seen, our mom and dad got divorced. Our mom and dad, they cheated. They couldn't stay together, or they stayed together, but it was toxic. And we've seen all of this stuff that was so not Black. It's so not Black at all. It's so not royal. It's so not what God has for us. And we're so used to it. But this is our time to break the curse. I can't say that enough. We've done this long enough. It doesn't benefit us. This is so our time to break the curse. And if we don't do it in 2020, when are we going to do it? When are we going to realize we're not bad? We're not bad bees. Ladies, we're not. We are mothers. We are nurturers. It's okay to have some fun. But for years and years and years of calling each other bad bees and twerking and doing all this crazy stuff and letting our children see these images and we're okay with that, what do we really want? Do we want restoration? Do we want to be competitive? Do we want our families healthy? Do we want values? Do we want success? Completely up to us. No one can stop us. No one can actually stop us from having what we truly want if we really want it. Let me share some things with you. This is the legacy workbook. This is the legacy workbook. It's going to help your family develop a conscious mind about who we are as Black people. I mean, literally, the first chapter is understanding you're Black, something like that. I titled it. It's all about who we are. Each chapter is committed to help you to develop your conscious mind. It doesn't matter if you're in a if you have a if your family consists of husband, wife, and children, and you did all of that the right way. This book is still going to help you because it's going to help you clearly define the values and expectations in your home. It's going to create a lasting bond between you and your children, and it's going to be a total spiritual and mind blowing shift. Now, this book is not available right now on Amazon because I'm still putting the finishing touches on it, but you can pre order this book. All of my books will be $14.99 until September the 1st. After you go through the 7 lessons or the 7 chapters in this book, is not, look, my books are not about length. My books are about change. And your family deserves to be royal. Your family deserves to understand what it means to be Black, to walk in power, to walk in leadership, to have the authority over their life, to be present, to live, to have expectations and goals, and how to just figure all these little things out about life that makes us great. As you're completing this book, you will be able to create a family covenant, and then you'll build your own family crest, which is amazing in itself. And this is my crest, and you'll be able to build a crest however you want. I chose every piece of this crest I chose on purpose. Book is for knowledge, tree is for family and growth, and the brain is what I talk, the conscious coach, because the mind, look, people can keep you enslaved just by conditioning your mind. So all of my books help to recondition your mind, if you will. So every little piece of this, crest that you see, the crown with the cross, everything you see, the font, every piece of this crest you see, I chose it. And it was a very enlightening and spiritual and mind shifting moment for me. I mean, when I got done with this, I was like, I am the conscious coach. I am Kathleen Harris. I'm telling you, it really, really lit a fire under me and made me feel confident in who I was as a person, as a woman. So, you got to get this. The next book I want to tell you about, and I'm not sharing them in any specific order, but So You Think You Want to Have Sex. When I read the numbers that our high school students are having more sex than any other race, we're still the poorest in this country. We still have the most broken homes in this country. Um, and high school students were having sex times 10 times more than some other races. For example, a Native American Asian students, only 10% of high school students who are of Asian descent were having any type of sex. Some everything now. So that was screen did something different. Here I am. So that was different. 23% of Native American children. It was about 38% Hispanic children were sexually active. By the way, anybody can get this book, no matter your race. 39% of Caucasian, but African American was at like, I want to say 54%. The numbers are too high for all teams, for every team, but especially ours. Get this book. It's a conscious mind guide to teach him sexual responsibility. This is not about passing out condoms or pills or sticking stuff in their arms and all that stuff to prevent them from having babies. Over 10 million, it was 20 million cases of STDs in 2019. 10 million of those cases were teens. We're not doing something right, people. We're not. Okay, that's where we are. Has nothing to do with where we're going. So, my next book is Hurt People Help People. Guys, trauma is like trending at this point. Everybody has trauma, sexual trauma, abuse trauma, financial trauma. We've all have these struggle stories and this trauma that we went to. My God, my God, my God. Why don't we solve them already? Knowledge breaks a lot of curses, people. Having knowledge and awareness is the strongest tool, hello, from your toolbox. Get knowledge in your house. The Bible says, because of a lack of knowledge, my people perish. They die. They suffer over and over and over again. Put some knowledge in your house. Understand how sexual abuse happens. Understand who does it. A lot of people are looking for some creepy guy that's watching kids. No, it's your pastor. It's your youth leader. It's your friend who you trust to babysit your kids. It's your cousin. It's the uncle. It's the grandfather. It's the daycare center worker. Listen, awareness is not going to hurt you. It's going to help you. Stop being afraid like knowledge is the boogeyman. And get this book. It's going to teach you about sexual awareness, a sexual prevention of sexual abuse of children. It's going to familiarize you more with sex trafficking because a lot of people think sex trafficking is a van, which it is, who kidnaps kids, which it is, throw them in the back of the van, which it is, and takes them somewhere and does ungodly things to them. It is all of that. Sexual awareness is also a dude who meets your daughter, who's older than your daughter, and tricks your daughter into having sex with other people without your knowledge. And you think your daughter's fine, and she out there tricking, and you don't know it because she's not out in the street. She's home every day. She's at home every day when you get there. She's just, she goes out with her friends, she goes to the mall, she does this and that. Well, she could be involved in sex trafficking. Sex trafficking is more than just kidnapping and throwing people in cars and vans. Your child could come home every day and still be in sex trafficking. And one day, that child is going to leave home. You may think she ran away. No, her boyfriend has convinced her to run away because he's using her, basically prostituting her. And she thinks she's in love. Happens all the time. Don't believe me? Go to Nevada. Plenty of teens out there who started at home with some boyfriend, got tricked out, got played. They were young, didn't understand it. Parents don't have any knowledge. So who's to stop? Who's to stop the predators out here? Get the book, people. Get the book. The next book is Things I Wish I Knew. I wrote this book because, again, we do have a knowledge crisis. We just don't have too much knowledge about what's going on out here. But this is a good book. This is a book. All of them are good, but I'm saying it reads like a novel. Really good for mothers and daughters. Excellent for mothers and daughters. Good for sister circles and women's circles and church groups. And look, replace this book with your Sunday school book. I said it. I did just say that. Replace your Sunday school book with this book and teach from this book for about 6 weeks, and then let them go home and read and go over the chapters by themselves. Choose 3 chapters out of this book and use them in church to study, to read and study and have open conversations about life. Do you know how many of us get slapped in the face with situations we are so clueless? You know how many women end up in bad relationships? You know how many women who end up in domestic violence situations? Do you know how many women are going to work every day dealing with racism? It would be good if they had already read stories and events and had conversations about those things. That's what this book is all about. You can read it by yourself, or you can read it with, pair it with somebody else or with a group. In any setting, it's a great book. So, thanks for joining me, and I will see you guys the next time. Have a great Saturday.